Brand nerds. It's summer 2026, Larry.
Love it.
All right, y'all. Summertime. Summertime. Shout, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
I'm
We
glad
know
you said Jazzy Jeff first because he doesn't get enough run, I think, sometimes. You know what I mean?
I agree, and that was actually the name of the group.
Right.
Yeah, it was Jazzy Jeff who was the
First.
DJ, who
Yeah.
was the primary. But brand nerds, we know you all are out and about during the summer. Hopefully, you're getting some vacation time, rest and relaxation. And while you're doing that, what Larry and I and the Brands Beats and Bites family thought we would do is to share some of the best that we've ever done at Brands Beats and Bites, some episodes. So we're going to be remixing some things for the summer that we're going to point you to by resurfacing the best of Brands Beats and Bites anytime, summertime.
That's right, D. Brand nerds, what DC and I are really saying is if you missed this episode the first time, you really need to catch it this time. They are must see or listen, whichever you prefer. So, brand nerds, let me break it down why this episode cannot be missed. Kristen Fischbeck has achieved a whole lot at a very young age, and after just a few minutes on the show, you will quickly discern why. From the jump, our conversation is super engaging, with Kristen sharing lots of fascinating stories and inside nuggets. If you are an up and coming brand nerd trying to climb the ladder quickly, there's a must show for you. If you simply want to hear fun stories inside the world of automotive marketing, also great. Either way, enjoy.
Brand nerds. What's happening? We are back at you. Brands, Beats, and Bites podcast. Larry, we've done so many of these now. It seemed like we just started, but it's been like a long time now. A
It is,
long time.
but I think part of that's because we just have so much fun with it, D,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We just love doing
Absolutely.
these. Yeah.
Absolutely, brother. Brand nerds, you all know I like things in threes, so I'm going to give you three on this one. Our next guest. Number one, our mission. The reason why Larry, Jeff, and I launched Brands, Beats, and Bites is we said we want to build better marketers so that they can build better marketing. This was our way to give back. We also wanted to help people who were in their careers that they're not necessarily CMOs yet, maybe not even interested in being a CMO, but just want to up their game. But they want to compress the timeline between where they are now and wherever they want to get to. And we wanted Larry Brand's Beats and Bites to serve as a resource and tool for them to compress the timeline. That's number one. Number two, I don't remember where I was reading this, Larry and Brand Nerds, but it was about human resources. Like, how do you find people? And folks will talk about interviewing process and hiring firms and recruiters. The real way you find good people is through other good people.
Yep.
And our good friend, Ed, I call him Brother Ed. You'll talk more about this later, Larry, helped us find this next guest. Good people know good people. And finally, brand nerds, y'all know I'm from Detroit. The D. What up, Doe? I'm from Detroit. And when you're from Detroit, you grow up with a love of automobiles, cars. And Larry, this next guest knows a thing or two about the automobiles. And I cannot wait to hear more about this. LT, can you tell the peoples who we have in the building today?
I'm thrilled to do it, DC. We have Kristen Fischbeck in the building today. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're thrilled to have you, Kristen. And DC, as usual, did a fantastic job in giving a little preface for having you on the show today. So, brand nerds, before we get into Kristen's great background, hopefully this does not embarrass her, but I'm still going to go there, D. As you mentioned, our
Oh, yeah.
great friend Ed Collins. I'm going there. our great friend Ed Collins called me one day and said, I know someone you absolutely positively have to have on your podcast. She is a young person who has managed to advance herself very quickly, and she's a rock star. You've got to have her on. So, with that recommendation from our guy Ed, from Brother Ed, as DC and I both call him, we have made this happen. So, let's get into Kristen's background. Kristen went to Cal State Fullerton, and in 2018, she earns her degree in communications. She is now currently in 2026 the managing partner of Feltman Agency, a boutique automotive advertising firm. That's what DC was alluding to, based in Irvine, California. Her meteoric rise to become managing partner is truly super cool. After graduation, her first job is at the Feltman Agency, where she, like every new hire, starts as an account coordinator. In 7 years, she quickly advances through every level of the organization: account executive, senior account executive, director of accounts, then vice president, before stepping into her current leadership role as managing partner. As managing partner, Kristen leads marketing strategy for a portfolio of automotive dealerships representing brands such as BMW, Rolls-Royce motor cars, Land Rover, Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, Toyota, just to name a few. Kristen and the team at Feltman focus on helping dealerships grow through data-driven digital marketing, brand strategy, curated events, and experiential campaigns designed to elevate the automotive customer experience. Kristen is also a frequent guest speaker on marketing, entrepreneurship, and leadership, sharing her insights with students at Chapman University and her alma mater, Cal State Fullerton. Outside of work, Kristen enjoys spending time with her husband, Jake, and their golden retriever puppy, Remy, who's all of 90 pounds, by the way. Welcome to Brands, Beats, and Bites, Kristen Fischbeck.
Wow, thank you guys for having me. That makes me sound way more impressive than I actually am, but thank you.
You did it,
All
Kristen.
you.
Yep.
All you. Larry does a great job of that with each of our guests. All right,
Yeah,
Kristen.
Mhm.
Our next section is Get Comfy, where we ask a question of our guests to get them sort of in the flow before we get into our next segment.
Awesome.
All right. As I listen to Larry go through your experience, so here you are, you're coming out of undergrad, you
Mhm.
go to a firm, and you stay there.
Yes.
Now, Kristen, for folks in your generation,
Mhm.
this is not common. All right. In
Right.
your generation, many will come out of school, go into whatever firm that they're interested in. If not being entrepreneurs, many become entrepreneurs. They'll stay there, I don't know, a couple years maybe. Then they
Right.
bounce, they go somewhere else, get a title elevation, salary elevation, another 2 years, then they bounce. And they
Mhm.
and they play this game. And by the way, I'm not defaming the game. Like you
Not
can't
at all.
you can't hate the player, hate the game. All right. So
Absolutely.
I'm not hating it at all. You stay and you
Mhm.
move up and up and up and up and up, and
Mhm.
where you are now managing partner when you started as a newbie. So
Right.
for the brand, you heard me talk about our mission up front. For the
Mhm.
brand nerds out there listening who are earlier in their career,
Mhm.
help them understand from your perspective, this is the way you might make moves
Right.
to elevate within a company, the same company, rather
Yes.
than bouncing around. And what should you not do if you
Mhm.
are looking to make that move?
Yeah, great question, DC. So originally, I did kind of think along the lines of, okay, this is a smaller agency. Maybe I think I want to be at a big agency, but I'm going to
Hmm.
use my opportunity at this smaller agency to get some experience in the industry. And then I'll stay there, just as you said, 1 or 2 years, get some
Hmm.
experience and try to pivot to a larger agency. Because I
Hmm.
thought, bigger agency, more opportunity, bigger budgets, especially
Hmm.
in automotive. We
Hmm.
know the national brands, Toyota, Honda, all of those companies spend a ton on national advertising.
Hmm.
That was kind of my thought. But I did get my foot in the door at this small agency. And probably after 6 months to a year, I realized that there would be good opportunity for me to move up those rungs on the ladder, because it's a smaller ladder, obviously being with a small agency, than a
Mm,
big company that has a lot of red tape, probably a lot of internal promotions, where it would be
mhm,
harder for me to make those steps and probably
mhm,
take longer at each step up the ladder. So that was kind of my thought process. But as
mhm,
I said, as I recognized that there would be great opportunity within this agency, I started to take a look at the people ahead of me that were in the positions that I wanted, and I would almost mimic their behavior. So I would start learning the stuff that they were doing in their day to day. I would listen how they talked to clients and engaged with clients on the phone. I would pick up the skills that they knew how to do, such as like maybe it was like production editing or video editing or stuff like that. Even though it wasn't required of me in my current role, I was picking up extra stuff along the way when I had time. I would even do some of it outside, like typical office hours, so that I could become skilled in the ways that those people were in the positions that
mhm,
they had the roles that I wanted. So that's kind of what I structured my time with when I was at that account coordinator role. Is
mhm.
I said, okay, I know next I want to be an account executive. So let me act as an account executive now and learn how to do everything that they're doing, so that it's a very easy transition when that day comes.
Ooh, Dee, this is deep.
Go ahead, Larry. I know you got some thoughts, brother.
No, you go first.
Kristen, some time ago, I developed a list of 10 things
Mhm,
that I look towards in guiding my career. And
mhm.
it took me a while to figure out these 10 things. I've
Sure.
lived by those since that time. I'm going to give you a couple of them on the list because they correlate to what you said. One of the things on this list is think in steps of two, act in steps of one. Think two, act one.
Mhm.
What that means, Kristen and brand nerds, what that meant for me was I never took an opportunity that was one step out unless I understood how that would set up the next step.
Yep.
It didn't mean that it always went the way that I thought,
Sure.
but I was not going to take the first step if I couldn't figure out the next one after that
Mhm.
before taking the first step. I didn't care, Kristen, how much money was on the table, power, none
Right.
of that mattered to me. I had to string these things along, and that to me became operating my career like chess, not
Mhm.
like checkers. Another thing on this list of 10 was do the job you want before you get the job.
Yes,
This is
exactly.
exactly what you said.
Mhm.
Before you get the job, to make it easy for others to see, oh yeah, they can do that job. Kristen
Yep.
can do that job. That dude can do that job because they're already doing a job. And then the third of on this list of 10 is become a subject matter expert, an SME, to
Mhm.
pull towards me the opportunities I want so I don't have to go chase them.
Right.
And I did some of the same things that you have done and are doing. And I've never heard anyone articulate it
Yep.
until now, right now.
Right. Yeah, I think it's almost kind of a subconscious thing that I was doing at the beginning. And then when I
Hmm.
saw it pay off for the first time, I really leaned into it. And I told my friends who were also at other entry level positions at the time, I
Hmm.
go, this is what I'm doing. We'll see if it works. If you want to try it too at your company, that's obviously structured different, or maybe even a
Hmm.
completely different industry. Let's kind of compare notes and see how it works for us. So then I kind of really started like being intentional, very intentional about it after the first time I saw it kind of pay off.
This is so good, Dee. I got a follow up. I'm so glad you posited the ones that you've lived by, which I've watched you do for many years. So, Kristen, you just mentioned something in that story that you started to share it with friends. So I have a two-part question. One is, when did it become conscious to you? So you said it was sort of unconscious. And was there a light bulb moment where, oh, that it became conscious to you? That's part one. And then
Mhm.
part two, as you've shared it with your friends, what's some of the feedback? Is it working for them?
Yes. So the first part, light bulb moment was actually, so I had been with the agency for 1 year before the pandemic started. And so
Mm,
during the pandemic, the agency had to furlough some of our staff members. And it really gave me the opportunity to step up to the plate because I was entry level and I had maybe a lower salary than other people at the agency had. I
Sure.
did not get furloughed.
Right.
But at
mhm,
that time, that's when I really got to prove my worth and prove all of the skills that I had picked up as an account coordinator, mimicking account executives. I got to put those to use during the pandemic. And then that's right when I got
mhm,
promoted to account executive. So that was kind of the light bulb moment where I thought, okay, this thing that I was doing paid off. It worked. It
And
mhm.
not
that's when
only,
you I'm sorry to interrupt. That's when you
yeah,
realized you didn't even realize before that you were sort of doing that unconsciously and it became
correct.
conscious. That's
Yes.
amazing. Very
That's
cool.
exactly when that,
Okay.
turned, because not only did it help me keep my job and not get furloughed, but then I got the promotion that I was
Right.
looking for.
Right.
So that
Mhm.
was the light bulb moment where that became conscious for me. And
Right.
then, yes, my friends also, shared that it worked in their industries, at their companies as well. I think some of the friends that were with larger companies, our company's boutique, so we had about 10 full-time employees at the time.
Right.
Larger companies, it seemed a little harder for them to make those moves up the rungs of the ladder, as I discussed before, because I think there's kind of more people in line for those
Sure.
promotions above them. But the friends that are at similar sized companies, they did share that it worked for them as well.
Love this.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Dope.
That's really great stuff. D, anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. That's dope.
What a great way to start. Oh, Kristen, you started amazing.
Oh,
Uh,
good. I'm
yes.
glad.
D, should we go to the 5 questions?
Let's do it. 5 questions, Kristen. So Larry and I go back and forth until we arrive at five. I am up first. Take yourself back.
Okay.
You had a branding experience, engaged with a brand, and Kristen, you just could not get enough of it.
Mhm.
This was like your thing. This was your thing. You fell in love with this brand or brand experience.
Mhm.
What was that for you, like a first love?
Yeah. So one brand that really stood out to me when I started paying attention to advertising was Audi. I've
Oh,
always
okay.
grew up loving cars. My dad likes cars, so Audi ads really started sticking out to me.
Okay.
I remember watching a Super Bowl commercial they did in 2017, and it was titled Daughter. And this ad showed a father and with his young daughter on a go-kart track, and he's talking to the viewer, and he's wondering if his daughter will grow up in a world where she's valued at the same value as men. And at the end
Hmm.
of the commercial, Audi made a statement about their commitment to equal pay for equal work. And I just thought
Hmm.
it was powerful because it was more branding. They weren't necessarily talking about the features and technology of their newest car or horsepowers or whatever like that. They were
Hmm.
telling a story about opportunity and confidence. And the reason it stuck with me, as someone who ended up building a career in the automotive industry, which is historically male dominated, it just reminded me that if you're confident and willing to put in the work, you belong in any room. And then I followed Audi after that, just all the branding campaigns that they did. They're really, I think, powerful in the message that they send. And it's not always just those hard sell kind of car ads that a lot of other manufacturers and OEMs do.
Oh, D, I know you're loving this. I am
Yeah.
as well. So, brand nerds, one of the things hopefully you're discerning from Kristen is that she's a deep thinker. And here's somebody who's dealing with a lot of automotive brands. And by the way, these are some of the most blue chip and brands, and they all have their own brand efficacy. So she's talking about Audi, which Kristen, if I'm not mistaken, do you guys represent Audi right now?
So funny. So we do not have any Audi
Yeah,
clients right now, but
yeah.
one day,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, which is funny, but again, the point is that you're really taken by by the brands in automotive, and DC and I love talking automotive brands. As he said, he is somebody from Detroit. I'm from New York. I don't have the same. Um, it's not in my DNA, but I do love me some car brands, and I think that car in today in 2026, if you don't have a brand, and again, we're not using that word. Some people use that synonymously with marketing. We do not. Brand and marketing are completely different things. When you have a brand that people are emotionally connected to, that's what you're going to have to hang your hat on. If you don't continue to build the brand, those brands that were once emotionally connecting are gone. They're literally gone. Need I say the Pontiacs of the world, right? And so what's really cool to me is that you pulled out that ad, and I remember that ad, and it was very emotional, and it was very much targeted toward elevating what Audi is about as a brand, right? Not a car, as a brand. So I love how the way your mind thinks, and again, we were joking, brand nerds, before the show was getting ready. We all have had or had dogs, and and Kristen made a joke that we're all of the same people. And now, in even more ways, you're a brand. You're all of the same people.
Right.
So
You
that's
guys
my
are my
reaction.
people. Yep, absolutely.
Dee, I know you have some thoughts.
Yeah, brand nerds, you know this. Kristen, you don't know this. I'm a girl dad.
Awesome.
I have three daughters. Three daughters, and that is the total of my children, three. And because I grew up as a car lover, and I am still afflicted to this day, uh, all of my daughters have some element of that, all of them. You mentioned Audi. When I lived in Irvine, because we lived in Irvine for a bit, and then we moved to Calabasas after Irvine. But when we were in Irvine, I bought an Audi S8. This is in 2007. This is going back way back. V10 motor, Lambo, Gallardo motor.
Right.
And I used to have my babies in this car. Okay, and they loved this car. And when they think about cars to this day, and I've had others over my lifetime, there is no car that they think about that is a car brand that is too masculine for me. They have emotional connections to cars, just like you had an emotional connection to that Audi ad. This makes me giddy. The other thing, brand nerds, I just want to go back to something you said, Kristen, and brand nerds. I want you to remember this, all of you brand nerds, is that if you put in the work, you belong in any room.
Yes.
That's strong. Yeah, that's
I can
strong.
believe that.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Larry,
Well,
next question. You got anything else?
nope. Next question. Let's do it.
Yep.
So, Kristen, who has had or is having the most influence on your career?
So I think the person who's had the most influence on my career is Craig Feltman. He's the founder of Feltman Agency, and now he's my partner. He really taught me the automotive industry from the inside out. He's also been a mentor to me and pushed me beyond what I thought I was capable of. So that's a very important person who's had an influence on my career. And most of what he taught me was the importance of like long-term relationships and reputation within our industry. Automotive retail is a relationship business, and great agencies are not only built on successful campaigns, but they're built on trust. And because of those lessons, we've had some of our clients for over 20 years because they really trust us. It's a true partnership. They know we're going to do what we think is best for them, and they trust us to represent them on their behalf and everything like that. So he's really instilled that in me. And then also my parents have had a big impact on my career because they taught me strong work ethic, and going back to what DC echoed, I think my parents really taught me that if you're willing to put in the work, every opportunity that you're looking for will follow. So that's a strong lesson. Shout out to Walt and Dana, my parents, because they're the best. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was your mom's name?
Walt and Dana.
Oh, Walt and Dana. Love Walt and Dana. We love your daughter on our show, Walt and Dana.
Thank you. They'll be watching.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, so Dee, I love the two prongs of this, right? Like relationships and, in this age of everybody staring at their phones, right?
Mhm.
And in the age of feeling disconnected, everyone wants to be seen and heard, and that's so critical. And if you don't establish those relationships, and you can't have trust without a relationship, right? And I dare I say, I mean, that's really what Craig is saying, that we've got to have trust in our agency, and we do that by having relationships. And I love that. And then your parents, Walt and Dana, again, you got to put the elbow grease in. There's no substitute for that. Kristen's achieved a whole lot at a young age because she's worked her ass off. She's that, and people need to understand there's no substitute for that. You need to be the first one and the first one to work, the last one to leave. Even in this day and age of working at home, that you're doing what you need to do to make sure that everybody understands that you're always prepared. And that's really the key, is to always be prepared. So I
Yes,
love
absolutely.
those.
Absolutely.
All right, brand nerds. Mm. Kristen said that Craig pushed her beyond things that she thought she was capable of. And Kristen, when I look at business and I try to find something in it that maybe isn't so obvious to others,
Hmm.
I will look for things that are pure, not in business, to draw a correlation.
Sure.
I'm going to do that now. So when I'm training in the gym, I'm very aware that if I don't know, let's say I'm training biceps. When I'm in pain training
Hmm.
my biceps, I know that the muscle is tearing, and that pain is eventually going to result in the muscle rebuilding itself, repairing, and becoming stronger.
Right.
The body is pure. It's not going to be motivated by what I'm trying to trick it into doing. It's like
Right.
you break down this muscle, the purity of the bottle says we're going to repair it so that you can grow. But there is some discomfort in it.
Hmm.
Your career has grown
Hmm.
at Feltman's. Where did Craig push you where you were uncomfortable?
Great question.
Great question. I would say the first avenue that I was kind of pushed out of my comfort zone was speaking and actually leading client meetings, and not just
Mm,
one-on-one client meetings or one-on-two. These were like big client meetings at the beginning, where I kind of realized, hey, this public speaking is a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm
mm,
like, why is this uncomfortable for me? What can I do to make this not so uncomfortable? And I started looking for other opportunities outside of work, to your point, where I
mm,
could do some sort of public speaking, because then, however much I learned and grew in that department outside of work, I knew it would translate into work. So I
mhm,
would sometimes lead uh, meetings where I'm talking to like 15 people at a dealership about their marketing, about our plans
mhm,
for the month, stuff like that, which was very
mhm,
scary at the beginning. And it's gradually become more comfortable over time. Those other avenues where I started practicing outside of work were the speakings I've done at like Cal State Fullerton's Com Week that I've done every year since I
mm,
graduated. Speaking with students and giving them advice has helped me work on my public speaking skills. And then it
mhm,
kind of all came to a head in September of 2024. As vice president of the agency, Craig had tasked me with coming up with some growth ideas on how to get a couple more clients within the
mhm,
agency. And one of my ideas was to speak at a conference called the Dealer 20 Group. So that's an industry conference for about 20 to 40 general managers of the same OEM, the same brand. So all Lexus dealers is the one that we went to, which
mhm,
was in Scottsdale. So rather than putting together kind of a sales pitch for this conference, I put together a presentation deck where I said, here are the top 3 things you should be doing for advertising at your car dealership. I wanted it to be informative. I didn't want it to come across, like I said, as a sales pitch, because I wanted them to be able to leave the conference that day with some skills. So this public speaking opportunity was very nerve-wracking because I was speaking to all general managers. So there was probably no one in the room under the age of 50, I would say. And then I was the only woman in the room. So it was very intimidating. But I knew that I had put the work in with my other public speaking opportunities to work my way up to something bigger like this. So the presentation went excellent. And then sure enough, we ended up getting 4 new clients just from that one speaking engagement.
Wow.
So we got a really good return on our investment there. But yeah, it was definitely that public speaking and meetings that kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone at the beginning. And then I said, okay, this is something I do not want to be having, cause me stress and everything. Why don't I work on this and get a little bit better at it?
Wow. Love that story. Do you have a follow-up?
I do not.
I have a quick one before we go to the next question. So, Kristen, is public speaking now still one of those things where you go, or do you now that you've got the reps, do you feel maybe comfortable but still don't love it, or are you past the point where now you're like, man, this is great? Where are you in that in the scope of that?
I think because I've put the reps in, I actually really enjoy the challenge that public speaking brings now. So of course you do still get those butterflies right before, but as long as you've prepared and you're confident in what you're speaking about, it actually becomes a very fun challenge in my opinion. So I enjoy it.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Ready for me to hit the next question, Larry?
Do it.
All right. You've had many successes in your career, Kristen. This next question has to do with none of them. Absolutely 0 of your successes.
Okay.
Larry's already taken care of that. We now want to know your biggest F up. And this one, Kristen, by F up, we mean you. It's on you. You're thinking, you believed one thing, it went a different way. Now, sometimes, Kristen, we'll get answers like, well, my manager, my boss will be like, oh, no, 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 brethren. We don't want to hear about the boss situation, the market change. We don't want to hear about it. We want to hear about your F up. And most importantly, what you learned from it.
Yes. Yeah. This is not a job interview, so I'm not going to hold back.
This is definitely not a job interview. This is a conversation.
Right. So one mistake I made early in my career, I had just become an account executive and I overpromised to a client without understanding the full scope of the project. And it was a big television shoot and spot that I thought our team would be able to produce with little actual production at the dealership. And like I said, I didn't understand the full scope and timeline and the workload that it would take internally. And so we ended up really scrambling to make it happen and even had to go back to the client and say, hey, this is going to cost more than I initially thought, which was hard for them to stomach at the time. So that taught me an important lesson about I would say, set the right expectations and then over deliver rather than, great client service isn't always saying yes right away and having the answer right away to the question that they're asking. I need all the information to gather. And then, like I said, now I'm a bit better at managing their expectations and then over delivering by either giving them things in a shorter time window than I thought, or maybe even coming in cheaper on production, stuff like that. So that was a big mistake at the beginning. And that lesson really stuck with me.
This is a really good one, D.
Go ahead, Larry.
Brand nerds. And so I have a question for you, Kristen, before I get. So you just got to be account executive, right? And we talked earlier about and get comfy about how you mimic the way account executives were working before you got there. So now you're now account executive and you just want to deliver to that client like they've never been delivered to before, right? Or do I have
exactly
the context? And
I was trying to impress them for sure.
Bingo. And then you do the overpromise thing. And okay, so how pissed off was the client? When you went back to them and asked for more money, how bad was that?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say they were like a 7 pissed off at me
Okay.
because no one wants to hear that they
Nope.
are going to have to spend more money than they originally told they were going to have to spend.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. They do not. So did they, because DC and I have been personally in situations, we've heard other similar kind of stories on this show. Did they make you pay for it, or did they reluctantly write the check? How did that work out?
They reluctantly wrote the check. So
Okay.
we have had instances within the agency. I can think of a handful of times where we did eat the cost because it is our mistake. So that is something we do. But on this particular instance, they did. They were fine to spend the extra money. It was just that kind of feedback of, hey, we were told one thing, this was our expectation, and now you're changing what you said. So again, that was a really big lesson that I learned.
So there could have been a lot worse.
Could have been a lot worse, yes.
Hey, man.
You could have taken a hit to my paycheck, potentially.
Exactly. Could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, expensive mistake.
Yeah. So no, this is great stuff. Do you have any follow-up?
I do. Kristen, are you familiar with the classic vintage comic show called Scooby-Doo?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
All right, so Scooby-Doo. So Scooby-Doo, brand nerds. Scooby-Doo doesn't say much because Scooby-Doo is a Great Dane. Speaking of dog people that we discussed before we got on camera here. Scooby-Doo doesn't say much. He just groans and makes like muddish sounds.
And laughs a lot.
He does laugh. He laughs a lot. He laughs a lot. But there is something that Scooby-Doo says where everybody needs to pay attention. And that is when something goes pear-shaped, Scooby-Doo says, Ruh-Roh. Okay. Then you know there's a problem. Okay. If you're not quite paying attention to what's happening in the show, when you hear Ruh-Roh, you need to pay attention because something's about to go down.
Right.
With this client in this situation, what was your Scooby-Doo Ruh-Roh moment?
So I think I got back to the office after the client meeting and I shared with someone who I believe was like a senior account executive at the time. So she had been with the agency probably 5 or more years, longer than I had. And I could tell right by her like body language and face expressions, right when I said what I had told the client that I did something wrong. That was my Ruh-Roh moment. I knew instantly the second I told her, and then sure enough, I would confirm with like Craig and a couple other people on our team that what I had told the client just wasn't going to cut it. So that was my Ruh-Roh moment right when I got back to the office and saw the look on their faces.
Now, did you think you were going to survive that in the moment?
It felt pretty awful in the moment, I'll be honest, because I knew I was going to be the one to go back to the client and said I made a mistake and what I told you wasn't exactly accurate. And that was just awful feeling in my stomach, in the pit of my stomach, because I was so new as an AE and I wanted to impress that client. So it was a pretty scary feeling. I did feel like that might be the end of me right there. Yes.
Larry, before I give this over to you for the next question, I want to big up Craig for a moment. Because culturally, if Craig would have shown you the door, and he could have, what that would have communicated inside of the firm is, hey, you make a mistake around here, particularly a big one, a client-facing mistake, you're out of here.
Right.
You are not a managing partner in that firm. And dare I say, it's a very different place culturally had he done that.
Correct.
There's something in him that allowed you the space to fail and then recover. I say to my daughters, I have many sayings to my daughters, but when they've done something, I will say, it's not about the mistake, and then I go silent. And they complete the sentence. They say it's about the recovery. This is what I teach my girls.
I agree with that statement 100%. And I think Craig lives by that mantra as well, because he's always given us, everybody at the agency, the space to fail. Not repeatedly, obviously. If it was a repeated thing, it would be an issue, but we never were reprimanded in a way where we were allowed to take risks for that reason. So it really created a good environment to work in, for sure.
Yo, Craig, we see you, brother.
Yes.
See you. All right, Larry, next question.
All right, next question. So, Kristen, when it comes to technology, the confluence of technology and marketing, and boy, it's bigger than ever, right? Can you tell us where you think marketers should lean in or best leverage tech? Or you could take us to an area or areas that they should be leery or simply avoid.
Okay. Yeah. So I think in the automotive industry, dealerships advertising has been influenced a lot by technology just because even 10 years ago, it was mostly all about traditional media and advertising like television, radio, print ads. And today we're much more like a data driven ecosystem, a digital ecosystem. So we could track everything now, like website behavior, ad performance, search intent. We can even track after we serve an ad in someone's home on their television maybe, and then they take their phone and they walk into one of our car dealerships, we're able to track them that they walked into a car dealership. So that kind of tech just wasn't around 10 years. And because of that, there's a lot less guessing of what marketing is working and what marketing isn't. And we also no longer have to guess where our customers are spending their time, what media they're watching. We have all of that data. So that's kind of an area where I would lean into is use all that data that you have at your hands, your fingertips, use it to your advantage in your marketing. And then another area where I would lean in that's very popular, a little bit maybe contentious right now, is AI. So AI really started playing a big role within our agency and things like creative production, even ad optimization, and then consumer insights. We use an AI generated voiceover software called Firebay Studios from Ed Collins.
That's
Oh
Ed
yeah, oh
Collins.
yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. That's how Ed and I were introduced to each other as we started using his software.
Before you go
Um,
on, we have to give a shout out to Ed.
yes.
Yes.
And again, DC and I, he brought it to our attention like literally from the beginning. And what he's able to do, brand nerds, with different languages, um, accents, inflections, it's incredible, right, Kristen? I mean,
Yes, I could. Yeah. So his software, you could type in any script that you have for any ad you're running for one of your clients. You have no less than, I would think, 30 to 40 different voices to choose from. You could change the emphasis on words. It's
right.
really cool. There's accents, like LT mentioned. And it's also cut our production times and our production costs in half for the agency. So
Wow.
it's been a huge tool because before we used to have to send out a script for a voice actor to perform. It would take a few days for them to get it back to us. Sometimes you would go back to them with changes, which would take a couple more days. It's
Yep.
also very expensive. So those two savings have really been just huge for our agency. We even cloned one of our general managers' voices so that we
Ah,
can
Oh wow.
we could quickly create ads using his voice. And obviously that his voice software is only available to our agency because that would be odd if he heard his voice
yeah.
out there in the world saying stuff.
So, Kristen, question on that. This is very interesting. So,
Yeah.
does he say, "I'm Jack Smith from Irvine BMW" with the AI? Like, do you use it that way, or do you just use his voice for to make sure that you have the consistency of narration?
So we use it for consistency of narration, but yes, we do have him introduce himself. So this
Okay.
client specifically is in the Bakersfield market, and
Okay.
he's very well known within the Bakersfield community. He does a lot of like nonprofit work and
Oh,
stuff like
cool.
that. So people know him well, which is why we kind of wanted that consistency across their ads using his voice.
That's
So yeah,
cool.
that's awesome that we've been able to do that with partnering with Firebase Studios. And then, at the end of the day, I think technology has made marketing more measurable, of course, but I still think the fundamentals haven't changed. You still need great creative and strong brand positioning, and then a deep understanding of human behavior in order to get those really impactful ads for your clients.
Oh, here. What you thinking, D?
I don't have anything to add. Well, actually, I guess I do. Uh, Brand nerds, in our field, you get better when you are able to adapt marketing and messages quickly. And in the area of performance marketing, you all know the A, B, sometimes CD testing to find out which of the four is working better and how do you optimize quickly. And the way that we used to do this is we would launch a campaign, let's say some radio ads, and then we'd wait to maybe track to see if there was some code associated with the radio ad. And if a customer comes and says, "Hey, I heard, I want to tell you about code, let's call it like purple," then you go, "Oh, they must have heard the purple ad." And therefore now with what Ed and his company are doing, and you're hearing this from Kristen, is that can happen. She gets 30 to 40 different voice options to choose from. And with a press of a button, boom, they're off. They're off. So my takeaway from this is, man, is it nice to have those options? I believe it also puts more pressure on the marketing folks to then separate the data from the insights. Yeah, because there's so much information available.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great stuff.
All right, let's go to question 5, right?
Last one, Kristen.
Awesome.
You can go anywhere you want to go with this question. What are you most proud of?
Okay. I think what I'm most proud of is just the journey that I've had at the agency. And as you mentioned at the beginning, sticking with one agency for 7 years now has been something that I'm definitely proud of. Again, I started as an account coordinator and now I'm managing partner, and I've gotten to work with really cool brands, all of the automotive brands that we've mentioned today. I'm so happy that I get to work with. And also just everything I've done has led to some really unique experiences, which are all part of my journey. I've gotten to do some crazy stuff that I could never dream of doing, like hosting a photo shoot for some marketing material that was in a private jet hangar at John Wayne Airport, or driving Rolls-Royces around Orange County. That's just a crazy experience. Or attending Monterey Car Week every year with my clients. Really fun stuff that I've gotten to have some cool stories come from and everything. It really just makes me realize how special the industry is. So I'm proud of that journey. And then I'm also proud of the life that I built outside of work. I'm married to a great man. His name is Jake, who's been incredibly supportive of my career and entrepreneurial path. So having that support system makes a huge difference, and has really just made me proud of both my personal and professional life.
I'm loving this. I got a silly follow-up question for you. So
Sure.
a little context, and then I'm going to ask you the question. So I had some friends. I've over the years done a lot of work with Nike, and a friend of mine at Nike, as most brand nerds know, they're based in Portland, and so is Adidas. And it goes way back. There was a guy named Rob Strasser, who was the VP of marketing in the Air Jordan days, and he and Phil Knight had a real dust up, and he ended up being president of Adidas America. So he moved Adidas to Portland. So there was people who families working at both companies. So this friend of mine who worked at Nike, his wife worked at Adidas, and so whenever they would leave the house, they would look at one another and say brand check, because because you live in Portland, you're gonna run into colleagues of both of yours, right? So 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 I ask you, Kristen, because you represent all these brands, you obviously you can't have like they have. It's clothing and sneakers. You can't have a lot of different cars. What do you do if you're going to your Land Rover client and I don't know what kind of car you drive and you pull up in a different brand? How does that work?
Yes, good question. So I drive an Audi right now. Back to the
There
Audi
you go.
tie-in. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
favorite car brand.
Well, that
Personally.
goes to the listen. I love that because that goes to
Yes.
your answer to question 1. It's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So I drive an Audi right now. I have gotten a couple comments when I pull up to my BMW dealership
I'm
and they say,
sure.
"Hey, what are we going to do to get you out of this car and into this car?"
Yeah.
And that's why I also said it's funny that we don't have an Audi client right now, because all of my clients offer, they're like, I'll get you a good deal on one of our cars. Come on, just, let me get you out of that car. And I'm paying full price for my Audi. I don't have any connections at Audi. Yes. So that just goes to show you how much I love that brand. But yes,
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
if you let your BMW client win, when you pull up to Land Rover, he's going to be pissed off. So at least now you can be genuine and say, hey, this is the car I've always had.
I have to be neutral in some regards. So that's how I kind of lean into it, is I can't have one client's car, the other clients will get upset. So I just say, okay, I have no client's car. I don't have any Audi dealerships, and I'm driving Audi. So everyone can be happy that way.
That's really funny. D, any follow-up?
I do. As someone who's lived in Irvine, I can tell you, Larry, that all of these brands that Kristen has mentioned, including the Rolls-Royce, you can see all of them at a place called the Spectrum, at the Valley at the Spectrum. They roll right up in there. And for the Rolls-Royces and the Range Rovers, more that speed, there's a subdivision. It was there when I was there. I don't know if it's still there or not, Kristen. It's called Shady Canyon.
Yes, it is still there. Yes.
Oh, Shady Canyon. Larry, we are talking about beautiful homes, and you can see the roses snaking through there. Now, I finally say this on the car front, because I grew up in Detroit, where people would do all manner of things to their cars. When MTV came out many years ago with Pimp My Ride, I'm like, I've seen that done many moons ago. But there was a time in Irvine, this is in the early 2000s, 2004, 2005, somewhere around in there, where Hummers were like a thing in Irvine. They were a thing. And some of the Hummers, driven by soccer moms now, would have spinners. This is in Irvine, California. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So Irvine, low key, is really a big like car thing. They like their cars in Irvine.
They sure do. Yeah. We actually, going back to Shady Canyon, so our Rolls-Royce motor cars dealership is in Irvine, and we're right down the street from the Shady Canyon neighborhood. And I think once a year, they'll do kind of like a car show, but it's out on the grass at the golf course in Shady Canyon. So we'll sponsor it, and we'll go park our Rolls-Royces there, because a lot of the people who live in that neighborhood are our clientele. So it works that it's a good, branding position to be featured at that event, because the wealth in that neighborhood is just insane.
Shady Canyon people.
Yeah, Shady Canyon.
Let's drive to Shady Canyon.
Yep.
All right, D. When God, this show's going fast. Kristen, you are just so outstanding.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We are going to our next segment, and that is called What's Poppin'? What's Poppin', D?
What's poppin'?
So, Kristen, this is our chance to shout out, shout down, or simply air something happening in and around marketing today that we think is good fodder for discussion. So I've got one for us today, brand nerds. So I read an article in Media Post the other day, which I'm an avid reader of, because it really has the latest and greatest as it relates to all different marketing. And by the way, you can really see through which is the articles that are that really are delving into what's going on a topic, or the ones that are basically the PR of what the company has put out. So they put something out really interesting the other day, and I'm going to read just part of this to you guys, okay? And so the headline is, with, quote, "Smell like your ex, Suave taps Gen Z's thrifting fans." Okay? So I'm going to read you a couple paragraphs. "Chances are good that most Gen Z women probably have an ex's hoodie cluttering up their lives, and Suave is using the insight to launch a purely social, quote, "Smell like your exfoliating body wash" campaign. The company hopes the new I'm sorry, I just missed the part of it. The company hopes the new work will be the intergenerational push it needs, introducing the value-based brand to a new group of consumers, ones who think thrift store jokes are funny, love scoring $5 dupe product, and want some on-trend fragrances, including strawberry, citrus, etc. Rachel Beam, Schwab's CMO, tells CPG Insider what the brand hopes to accomplish. And I'm going to read you, there's two questions, and then I'm going to have I'm going to get into it. So the first question was, why the social only shift for Schwab, and who is the new product line and campaign aimed at? So Rachel said, Schwab is a household name and has high awareness amongst all age cohorts, but our brand health data shows that a younger generation doesn't have the same top of mind awareness and love for Schwab as generations past. They didn't see us in their social feeds, which is the main way they interact with brands. We just weren't part of their conversations. We see this as an opportunity in the right time to both reintroduce the product at a moment when Gen Z is super enthusiastic about dupe culture and finding quality products for $5 and the right kind of messaging. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead to the crux of what I want to discuss with both of you.
Okay.
So then the last question is this: how big a role will this new product play in your lineup? And this is Rachel Beam saying, we've been owned by Yellowwood Partners, a private equity firm, since being carved out of Unilever in 2023. In the last 2.5 years, we've got all new people, approaches, and innovation pipelines. It's been a renaissance for the brand, and this is absolutely one of our top bets for the year. Body wash is a top 2 category for us. We know we have a product that consumers absolutely love and young people are interested in, and we know that this campaign idea resonated really well with our testing. Now it's time to watch sales data and media metrics, and so far we've been pleased with influencer responses. We're seeing a 40% posting rate to what we've seeded, much higher than we expected. Influencers love the fragrances and the $5 price points and are having fun with the tie-in to people's exes. Okay, so here's the question for both of you. How many brands are languishing with larger companies and with just a little attention and investment can be resonant brands today and tomorrow? What do you guys think about that? And by the way, I think of car brands past too. That's why I thought this would be good conversation for us. What do you guys think?
Kristen?
So it sounds like Suave is trying to kind of pivot to reach the younger demographic, is what I'm hearing. So by doing that campaign, trying to target Gen Z, I think they're really trying to adapt or die, it seems like, to the younger generation. They're saying, you know, with that generation, there's not as much brand awareness top of mind. I definitely used their shampoos and stuff when I was younger, but as an adult, I have not used their products in a while. So I think it's a good idea to try out to connect with the younger generation. And I do think there's a lot of kind of just pop culture around X's right now that they're hinting on, which I think is good for like a pop culture tie-in.
Yep.
I know Target has dropped like a line of sweatshirts that say phrases about people's exes and stuff like that for both men and women. So I think what Suave is trying to do by trying to tie in the younger generation is a smart move on their end. And then it also sounds like they're putting the correct price points on those products by not making them super high end. But what they're saying basically is you're getting high end quality products for a lower price. So all of those things connected are what seems like it would be a great campaign. And I'm curious to see if they have some good results to share from that.
Dee, before you talk, I just want to say one quick thing. It's a value brand that always has been, Kristen.
Right.
So that's what they hung their hat on. And my larger question, I think it's great what they're doing. My larger question is, I think there's brands sitting in the closet that just are sitting in the closet, you know, metaphorically, right? And so I appreciate that they have real insight of today and they're doing stuff. And dare I say, it will be interesting to track, but I'd be surprised if this does not reach some level of success and perhaps really large success, just because they're actually doing something that's of today with insights of today and making it relevant for today's consumers. So again, I've talked too much. I can't wait to hear what Dee has to say.
Okay.
I don't know yet. I need to ask some clarifying questions. Is the smell like your exfoliating body wash, is that consumer facing?
Yes.
That's consumer facing. Okay. I believe that in our craft, some things stay the same no matter the era. A clearly articulated problem, that you're solving. They've articulated that. A clearly articulated, reachable, but maybe stretch objective. I can see where they are here, business objective. The third is a strategy. So, what strategy are they wanting to go about seizing on this business objective or solving the problem? The strategy is coming through here. And then finally, the execution. And you've now told me that this execution, in part, consumer facing, is smell like your exfoliating body wash.
And by the way, they put the foliating part in parentheses.
I'm
which
seeing
so
that.
they
Yeah.
kept the X, and so yeah,
I'm
they had
seeing
fun
that.
with that.
I'm with them on the problem. I'm with them on the objective. I'm with them on the strategy. The execution, I think, is shit. And I'm going to explain why. Um, it's too cute. I'm not so sure that anyone in the demo that they are looking at wants to smell like their ex. I'm not so sure. I got 3 daughters. I don't want to hear any of my daughters talking about a hoodie. I'm a father now, and I can't imagine them going, "Oh yeah, my ex. I miss him so much. I'm smelling him. I want to smell like my ex." I think that's too cute. So that's why I think it's shit. The other thing is that, to your point, Kristen, there is a lot in social media about exes, but it's snarky. It's not like raising up the ex. It's
Correct.
taking down the ex. Like,
Right.
can you believe how dumb this ex was? It's really snarky. This is
Right.
why people say of IG as well as X, Twitter, it's undefeated because it can take you down quickly. So
Right.
I believe that they could have done a better job executionally by focusing on the X part of it, but instead of taking something that they think people want, which is to smell like their ex, which I don't think is true, they take the X down.
Yeah. See, and I wasn't clear with you guys. I wasn't here to judge this. I'm saying I just think there's huge opportunity for other swabs that are in the closet of brands at places like Unilever, P&G,
Oh,
and
I
dare
agree
I
with that.
say
Yes.
Pontiac, like
Yeah.
old car brands that with the insight, with all the things that you just said, D, to reintroduce, our old boss at Coke, Kristen, used to say, Sergio Zeman, you've got to reintroduce your brand to a new consumer every day. And
Yeah.
so
I like that.
D, I think you're probably right. My point here is that we'll see whether they're successful and they'll pivot or not. My point is that I love at least the effort, and we'll see what happens. And I think that there's opportunity for other brands to be reintroduced in a way that's really relevant for today. That's where I'm going.
I think they realized they needed to pivot, so that's what they're trying to do. And I agree. I think the effort is there. Maybe the execution is a little bit
Right.
poor, but they are at least trying to pivot so that they don't die and end up in a shampoo graveyard somewhere.
There you go. That's right. That's right. Excellent conversation.
Excellent.
All right, we are at the show close. Kristen, God, this has been so great. I've had just a multitude of learnings. I'm going to cull it down to 7. So I'll start with number 1. So brand nerds, like Kristen did early on, first unconsciously, then consciously, carefully observe the people above you that you respect and you see are really good at their job, and then figure out what they're doing and how you can then make it your own. That's my little twist on what Kristen said. That's number 1. And DC said this in follow-up to this conversation that about this subject. Do the job you want before you get the job. That's number 2. That's beautiful. Number 3, DC said this also. Think in 2 steps, act in 1. Think in 2 steps, act in 1. Meaning, always take a step, if you're going to take a step, that will help you in the following step. That's number 3. Number 4, like Kristen has done with public speaking, what are your weaknesses that you can work on that will help elevate your game and ultimately your career? Number 5, great client service, and dare I say, serving your boss also. That's also a form of client service. Starts with under promising and over delivering. And brand nerds, you should err on saying, let me get back to you, rather than make a commitment that you can't hold. That's number 5. Number 6, when you are a leader, make sure you create a culture where it is okay to fail as long as you learn from it, just like Mr. Feltman has done at the Feltman Agency. And the last one, number 7, always be thinking about how you can be better in your job. And sometimes tech can be the way to help you get better, like Kristen has done with Firebase Studios, Ed Collins, shout out again, and more. Those are my 7.
Awesome. I think that wrapped it up beautifully.
DC?
Nicely done, Larry. Nicely done, brother,
Thank
as
you.
always. Kristen, this has been an interesting journey for me on this podcast. And at this part of the show, I make a valiant attempt to articulate to the human before me, based on the conversation, what is it that I believe, and it's just my opinion, my humble opinion, this person is offering that only they can offer of the 8 billion people in the world in the way that they can do it. And some, Kristen, it'll come to me at the very end. It's like a canvas being painted. And at the end, based on the answers to the questions, oh, okay, this is what I'm seeing. Others, it'll come in the middle. Yours, Kristen, started taking shape very early. And I'm going to walk through that now.
Okay.
In the Get Comfy section, when we were asking you about your career, and you stayed at one place, one agency, you're still there now, been on a 7-year journey. You answered by saying, this is how you elevated. You kind of looked around at others and said, I think I'm going to mimic that in your own way. I'm going to mimic that. I'm also going to actually be more conscious. This is after you had your epiphany moment. Larry described it as a light bulb moment. When COVID hits and you get not only you get away from being furloughed, you're spared, if you will, you get a promotion. And this is where you go, oh, being here at a smaller agency, less bureaucracy, I can move up. Smaller ladder, but I can move up that ladder. So you recognize that after being in the mix for a bit. Then when we got to the question on 5 questions about your first branding experience, you talked about Audi, and you're an Audi driver now. And the BMW folks, they cannot get you into a BMW. You're going to be in an Audi for a little while longer.
Yeah, not yet.
And you said that like in this space, automotive space, and it was true when you said it. It was true when you experienced it. It was true 100 years ago, and that is the automotive space is male dominated. It is male dominated. And then you said if you put in the work, you belong in any room. Like, Then when we got to the question of who's having the most influence in your career, you talked about your mom and dad, Walt and Dana, but you also talked about Craig. And I asked you a follow-up question about, you said he kind of pushed you into places beyond what you thought you were capable of. I asked you about uncomfortable places, and then you brought up leading big client meetings, speaking publicly. And then what you do, because you're a little nervous about this, you go seek out ways to learn how to be more comfortable public speaking. And then that prepared you for the moments when you had to lead big client meetings.
Right.
So much so that when you get to an opportunity to go in a room full of GMs when you are the youngest by likely some decades, and you're the only woman in the room, you decide, I'm not going in pitching. I'm going to create a presentation, public speaking,
Mm-hmm.
that provides these GMs tools so they can level up their marketing game.
That was brilliant, by the way.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
This is as our UK brethren and sister would say, brilliant. This is good, Kristen.
Thank you.
And then you're welcome. And then it all kind of came together for me when you answered the question about your biggest F up,
Mm-hmm.
where you overpromised to a client and you overpromised specifically in the area of production.
Mm-hmm.
Production. You said we could do something for this client regarding production. And then you go back to the office after you sold it in, client's really happy. And then you talk to a senior person, 5 years they're longer than you, and they're like, Ruh-Roh. So you know you got a problem.
Right.
And then you own it. Craig gives you the space to fail. You own it, you go back, you apologize, the client writes the check.
Mm-hmm.
But you did make the mistake in the area of production and you didn't know how that was going to work for your career.
Right.
I find it uncanny that that's the area where you had your biggest F up, and it's now connected to your answer to the question of technology. We're in the area of production now with
Mm-hmm.
Firebase Studio and Brother Ed. You're now working with a tool that cuts the cost of production in half
Yes.
with more options. So you had an F up in production budget. And here you are, I don't know how many years later, you have now found yourself working with production in a way that is far better and at scale than before.
Right.
I thought, well, I'll be damned.
Yeah, I didn't even put that connection together. So that's pretty amazing.
He's crazy with this. He's incredible with this.
That's really cool, DC.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So now I'm going to go back to TV shows because I mentioned Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go old school and then more new school. Kristen, there was one of my favorite shows growing up and Brand Nerds was Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
It featured a star, David Carradine, rest in power, rest in power. Occasionally, they would show you David Carradine as a young person, and he is learning to become a Kung Fu master. And what his teacher does in a few of these episodes is he holds his hand open in front of a young David Carradine who's training, and he has a pebble in it. And then he wants David Carradine to grab the pebble.
Mm-hmm.
And when David Carradine, young David Carradine, raises his hand to grab the pebble, the Kung Fu master closes his hand. And for most of the show, when the Kung Fu master opens his hand, the pebble is still in his hand. But at some point, David Carradine gets that pebble.
Right.
Same deal. The master opens his hand. He's like, "Oh, you got it." That is his signal. Like it's time to leave now. You've learned. Modern day example: Star Wars. My nephew Larry and Sherry's son. His name is Jake. Jake,
like your husband.
Yeah. Love Star Wars. Love Star Wars. And in Star Wars, the equivalent of a young David Carradine are the Jedis. They're
right.
The Jedis. They are trained by Yoda. Yoda is the one that has these Jedis go from these younglings into like Jedi Knights. You have had your Yoda with Craig, and you have had your Yodas with Walt and Dana, which sums up for me what you do and what you are, Kristen. You are a Jedi Knight of the marketing game because that's how you go about doing your thing.
That's a really cool way to put it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Welcome.
Great stuff, D. So, Kristen, before we sign off, is there anything from this conversation that you've learned that you would like to share with the brand nerds?
Yes. I think from this conversation, I've just learned that when you kind of put all of your thoughts together on your journey of what you've accomplished so far, it kind of helps you really put a nice bow on your journey and experience. And talking to you guys has helped me reflect, and also kind of inspired me to think about everything that I have dealt with in a different light than maybe I was before. Not everything is just so, oh, about work and I got this done and the work week went by. I like how you guys kind of package everything up and compare it to other lessons. And um, I just think it's really powerful. The branding opportunities that we have with the brands that we work with and the marketing work we get to do. It's a really special industry, no matter who you're working with. So I wanted to thank you guys for this podcast. I had a great time.
Great. We did as well. That's a mic drop. We really enjoyed having you on the show. So, Brand Nerds, thanks so much for listening to Brands Beats and Bites. The executive producers of Brands Beats and Bites are Jeff Shirley, Daryl DC Cobbin, Larry Taman, Jade Tate, and Tom Dioro.
The Podfather.
That is he. And if you do like this podcast, please subscribe and share. And for those on Apple Podcasts, if you are so inclined, we love those excellent reviews. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we look forward to next time, where we will have more insightful and enlightening talk about marketing.